Okay, today we are going to learn a for loop. So the loop basically mean a repetition statement. Actually, it's a statement repeat on actions. So each repetition of action is known as a pass or iteration, right? There are two So there are two types of loop. The first one is called definite iteration. So those that repeat an action a predefined number of times. And then this is another one is called indefinite iterations. And then the first loop that you are going to learn is something called for loop. Okay, the for loop. And the first this is like format of for loop. So you have a for, this is keyword, and you have variable name, and in range is function. So this is first statement is called loop header, and then it's followed by statements, from 1 to n. There can be many statements. This statement is called a loop body. Okay, and as you can see, there must be some indentations. Okay. So statements in body must be indented and aligned in the same column as shown. So let's take a look at this first format. Okay. So we know that it's a for loop, right? The first statement says basically the for, and then the variable name. Right, variable name, and then in range, and then there's some number here, right? Then there are some statements, right? This is what loop body. So this body is going to be repeated. So the example is, let's say, for count. Say count is a variable name, so we create a variable called count. In let's say range, let's say 3. Okay. So what the range 3 means basically is a list of numbers, let's say starting from, always in computer science, any programming language, starting point is always 0, right? And then it's 1 and 2. So note that even though it's 3, basically this means a size. So as you can see, size is what? 1, 2, and 3. The lower bound is a 0, and that's 2 is upper bound. So always the upper bound is 1 less than the size. And then I want to say print, let's say hi, and then print count value is, so we like to print out the count value, and then comma count. Right? So of course there is some indentation. So as you can see, the first is going to execute this the loop header. So first count is in range, so this is like a range, right? So the first count value is 0. So in your screen it'll print hi. Then we'll execute the next statement, which is count value is count. So print count, which is 0. Okay. So once it's done, it's going to go back to the loop header, and now the count value becomes 1. And then it's going to print hi. It's going to execute the next statement, and and then execute the next statement, right? The count value is, I'm going to skip this, count value is count, right? So count now is 1, right? So it's going to print 1. And then let's go back to this loop header. So now the next one is what? Count is 2, right? So the count becomes 2, and then it will print high. And then the next statement is what? The count, right? So it's going to print 2, right? And then go back to the loop header and realize that what? They just execute the last element in the list. So they're done, right? So let's just program this. Okay, let's just program this. This is my Python idle, and then I'm going to create another file. Okay, and then I'm going to type for count in range 3. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that you have to put colon at the end of the loop header. Must. Otherwise, they'll give you a syntax error. So you have to put the colon at the end of the for loop, the for header, and then print. So note that the indentation is automatically done for you. So print, let's say hi, and then the print, let's say count value is, and then let's say count, right? Let's just save this for save as, let's say directory C and then Python. Then I'm going to say ForLoop1. I mean, you can choose any file name that you want, and then I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to run this module. The first iterations, they print this, right? The first iterations, and then this is like a second iterations, right? And then this is output for the third iteration. Okay. So let me stop recording.